hit record. It's Tuesday, November 17th, and we got Wyatt Russell with us. We got Michelle Charles with us. I'm Ben Greiner. We have some people joining us, and we were just discussing Ring Central, and this is Ring Central Video, the new Ring Central, not to be confused with Ring Central Meetings, the old Ring Central, which is really Zoom. And we were just talking about the lack of controls when recording. In fact, I'm not even sure as I'm hitting record here if you're going to see me full screen or if you're going to see everyone. You know, it's still a little confusing to me. And in fact, I'm trying some other software out here, which is a little different than maybe you've seen before. And I don't have a green screen yet, so it looks a little wonky. But we're going to keep improving on this. And let's see. I do want to talk, Wyatt, before we get into it.
Yeah.
What do you guys? If I go full screen, can I go full screen? How would I do that?
You just did, and that
I did.
actually, and that shifted you into. I think the folks that are attending can choose which view they want as well.
Oh, okay.
But that did just blow you up into on my end into the full screen. I still have the thumbnails of Michelle and myself and our guests up top. But.
Okay, so if I'm talking, am I full screen or no?
Let's see.
Am I full screen right now when talking?
If I switch it to active speaker view, you are.
Active speaker view, okay.
But on my end, I have to choose if I want film strip or active speaker, and then to the right of that, we have gallery view or film strip view.
So. I need to play around with this a little more because I have this software that shows me and it shows screens in the background. And in fact, I can switch this to as a camera view.
Oh, cool.
From my phone. It's wobbling a little bit. This is viewing outside the window. This is kind of the view I see. And I got to stop shaking my desk here. And then you can change the background, of course, and I can hide myself or zoom in. So there's lots of neat stuff with this software. And once we get it fully working, we'll use it, integrate it, and share. Maybe have a whole time episode about it. But for today, let's get right into it. Sorry for the delay. We're going to be talking about M1, and that's why I had Apple's screen up here. So if let's see, if I hide myself, that's full screen, shoulder slides off. I know there's a way to hide myself. Presenter, hide. There we go. So do you see the screen full on?
Yes, sir.
Apple unveils. And can you read it, or is it flipped? Apple unveils new M1.
I can read it.
Okay. So Apple unveils new M1 chip. For those of you who don't know, this is Apple's new processor, and they're going to be putting this in all of their computers eventually and moving away from Intel. And they had some pretty amazing stuff to announce, meaning it's faster and the battery life is amazing, almost double their previous models, much like the iPad. If anyone here has an iPad, whether it's a regular iPad or iPad Pro, the battery life on those are incredible compared to, say, a MacBook or MacBook Air. So very exciting stuff, but we have to caution everyone, it's just dangerous to rush into this too soon in a work production environment. And the two big reasons, we put a little executive summary on this page. And by the way, this is support.forgetcomputers.com. If you go here and either search for M1, or if you were to go to the homepage, go to Forget Computers and scroll down to announcements, you'll see Apple unveils new M1. And kind of the highlights that I want to touch on are these are entry-level workstations. So Apple focused on the iMac, MacBook Air, and the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Traditionally, entry-level workstations, we don't always see them in work environments unless you really, truly are just doing email and web browsing. If you're just doing email and web browsing, maybe you could get by with entry-level. But if you're doing anything beyond that, and which a lot of our creative professional clients are doing, typically don't run these types of machines. So they are entry-level. Historically speaking, anytime Apple introduces something completely new, and this is really new, this is a new processor, it takes a while for software to catch up. And Wyatt will talk a little bit more about the differences between updates and upgrades in a minute. But Photoshop is a big one, Creative Cloud. Those are the types of applications that, even though they've been testing with Apple, Apple releases it, there's some change, there's something that we discover it's not quite working. And oftentimes, if something isn't working with a new chip, we are stuck until either Apple or Adobe or Microsoft, whoever's involved, fixes it. There's really often not a workaround. So in addition to a new chip, we're also dealing with a new operating system, because these Macs will only run the very latest operating system, and that is Big Sur Mac Os 11. Apple now goes to 11.
It finally does.
Yeah.
Finally.
And hey, we're excited about Big Sur. We've been testing Big Sur. We've got a beta running, or we were running the beta of Big Sur. It's now officially released. And I know we all want cool new stuff, but just don't test it on a workstation, because it's not easy to go back. And in fact, Apple's working very hard to make it nearly impossible to go back. I believe with the new M1 chip, you will only go forward. Just like on the iPhones and iPads today, you can only go forward. For security reasons, you cannot go back. And I can't stress this enough. It sounds like, hey, not a big deal. I trust Apple. They do great stuff. But historically, it is always the case that a new operating system and a new chip has some types of issues. So please, everyone, unless you have a spare Mac to test with, don't run this, and don't go out and buy yourself a new Mac expecting it to work flawlessly. Sorry to be a Debbie Downer. Hate to be negative, but those are just the facts. Okay, so that's M1, that's Big Sur. Those are both out there. Before we move on to software, Wyatt, I want to mention. We'll get to this later. My comment later. So what I want to do is turn it over to Wyatt, who's going to talk a little bit about something that a lot of our clients, even those that I think are very experienced, can get confused about, and that's upgrades versus updates. And Apple has made it even more confusing, because it used to be very clear cut. Updates were free. Upgrades cost money. But with Apple's move to free upgrades or free operating system upgrades, even with Adobe and Microsoft's move to a monthly subscription, we're blurring the lines between updates and upgrades, and that paywall, so to speak, that paywall that used to keep people from making the dangerous upgrade that they would sometimes do today. It's not there anymore. So it's really a challenge to stop people from sort of hurting themselves. So Wyatt, I'm going to turn it over to you. Do you need me to share? You want to share your screen?
If you have the Big Sur page pulled up already, we can touch on that, because I did want to just touch on Big Sur real quickly, because I'm sure that folks are interested in it. And as Ben already pointed out, we used to have a very clear distinction between updates and upgrades used to always be paid, and updates were always free. And now with subscription models like Adobe has, like Ben was mentioning, Microsoft, and then Apple just kind of taking the paywall out of the picture with upgrades, it has become blurred a bit. But as far as OS 11, it's called OS 11 Big Sur, so we're moving away right now. Our current, not current, but the latest operating system that we were dealing with, Catalina, was a 10 dot. It's 10.15 for Catalina, and then moving backwards, Mojave is 10.14, High Sierra 10.13, 10 dot, etc. So we've gone all the way up to 11, as Ben said, and I can't help but chuckle every time I say that, because I think of the movie Spinal Tap. But Big Sur is exciting, because it's a pretty big overhaul to the operating system, but mainly from a cosmetic perspective. Would you agree with that, Ben? That it's a lot of cosmetic changes and not so much of an under the hood kind of upgrade as maybe past upgrades. Uh-oh. Ben, did I lose you? Did I lose anyone? I see the screen moving. Michelle, are you still there?
I'm still here. Yeah.
Oh,
Ben's
Ben?
on mute, but his screen was moving.
Yeah.
You know what?
There you go.
There you go.
Yes, I must
There he
have
is.
hit the space bar.
Okay.
Yes, I accidentally hit the space bar, muted myself. Sorry about that.
So Ben, yeah, this seems like a real overhaul of the user interface, the graphic user interface. So a lot of cosmetic change here, less under the hood change. Is that safe to say with Big Sur?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to talk while muted, which doesn't work. For those of you listening out there, and yes, my understanding is it is more of a refinement of the operating system with a lot of visual changes. They overhauled the icons for the most part, and I think that's a good thing. When Apple doesn't try to throw in a bunch of new features that could potentially break things, I think that's a good thing. But honestly, from a developer standpoint, I'm not totally up to speed on what has changed in the operating system. We should have Ross on because Ross has spent a ton of time with
That's
the
true.
beta.
Yeah, Ross
and
has been spending a lot of time with it.
knows more about it. But from a technical standpoint, yeah, on the one hand, it sounds like it should be safe and it's just cosmetic. On the other hand, it's still too early. It came
That's
out
not.
Thursday.
I didn't mean to imply that it was safe because of the
No.
cosmetic improvements. But that's. Yeah, I mean, bullet points from a lot of the websites that I look at. Major design refresh, control center, maps overhaul, revamped messages, built-in translator, major Safari improvements. On that last bullet of major Safari improvements, if you're running Mac OS 10.14 Mojave or 10.15 Catalina, you can run the new Safari just as it looks on Big Sur. So you can kind of get a little taste without jumping all the way in.
Yeah.
Um,
In fact, I
and
just
Ben,
updated
it looks
Safari.
like you are running the
Yeah, I just
latest version on
updated
your
it
computer.
today. You can tell by this little shield icon.
Yep.
And Apple, rightfully, now that they're promoting this web tracker feature, they're also promoting that they're not doing any tracking on their own website. And I guarantee if you go to any other website, including our own, you're going to see some tracker. I think we have two. Well, let's find out. Let's find out what we have. BigGetComputers.com. Oh my God, if I could type .com. Here we go. So we have three. So what is this? We've got, I know Zopum, that is our Zendesk integration. That's this little thing down here. That's I think both of these, I think both DoubleClick.net and Zopum are integrated into Zendesk. DoubleClick is this widget, and Zopum is if you tried to chat with us, which, to be honest, I'm not sure we even have active right now. And then Google Analytics, the default that everyone in the world has, except for Apple. So I don't know. Apparently, they just don't care, or I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, so I've been running the new version of Safari a little bit. I still run a third-party browser just because that's what I'm used to. But yeah, they do have a lot more privacy. If not just the illusion, the literal privacy features built in to the browser now, and they're doing that. If you have an iPhone, you've noticed that on your iPhone. If you've upgraded your operating system from an older operating system to Mojave or Catalina recently, you might have noticed those security enhancements as well. And so it seems they're just building on those things, which is good to see. So OS 11 Big Sur is exciting, and we all will be able to, pun intended, dive in, here at some point. I'm not sure that we have determined exactly when yet, but I think we generally wait 6 months. Does that sound about right, Ben? As to when we'll.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about with the changes that have happened in the Apple ecosystem, maybe getting that down to 3 months. That was something Ross and I recently talked about. And in fact, if we go to our Catalina article, which is the previous upgrade,
and our most popular article too, isn't it?
It was a very popular article. We still get inquiries about it. And I added something here at the bottom that I heard on a podcast, which made a lot of sense. We talked about it once before. we're at stage. Well, we're at the initial release right now, and for Big Sur, actually we're at 0. So
Right.
traditionally you'd get a dot 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And if I look at my Mac right now, I'm at dot 7. So
Yep.
Catalina has gone to 7 updates to get where we are today. And we typically start feeling comfortable with an operating system around 3 or 4. Well, actually, here it says 5 to be safe. It's 5.
Yeah.
So, not to say we always have to wait till 5. Not, there have been some operating systems. Well, I think they've all reached 5, but sometimes 5's the limit. Maybe Apple will get to a point where they'll only have 3 or 4 updates before they move on to the next one. So every update or upgrade, every operating system is unique. We're just basing this on history. History tells us that it's not until maybe the 5th release that everything's pretty much stable. And just like the iOS upgrades that came out, a month ago, they've now released, I want to say, has it been at least 2 updates since then already?
Yeah, I actually was one of the people that waited. I actually just moved to
Yeah.
14.2. I believe that was last week
Yeah,
when dot 2 came out.
14.2. Mm-hmm.
iOS, notoriously, at least in my experience, I'm just not the type of person that's going to jump right on the immediate upgrade, because more often than not, there's more headache than it's worth. So I waited. 14.2 iOS, on a side note, is very solid now, and I think we could encourage all of our clients to go to 14.2 on their iOS devices if they haven't yet. But when it comes to workstations, yeah, I think, as you pointed out here, Ben, we really started pushing Catalina. It feels like May, although time has kind of mushed together as of late.
Right.
But I think it was May when we started to really make the push to get most of our clients over, because we were very confident that all of the software that everyone uses is going to run. We're not going to have any issues there. I think a couple of pieces of font software were the last holdouts. And we, as you mentioned, Ross has been testing extensively in Big Sur, and there's still some critical software that our clients use that will not perform on Big Sur. So if you have tried to upgrade your computer and you've gotten an error, that's intentional. We do have Big Sur OS 11 blocked for all of our managed computers. And we're not doing that to be mean. We're doing that so that you can continue to be productive and use your computer as you normally do. So on that note, we can kind of segue into the upgrade conversation. And as Ben mentioned at the top, our clients get confused. I think we still get confused in the IT industry. But update and upgrade are not synonymous. They are very different. And so just kind of top level, updates are generally released after a major release. So as Ben said, a lot of us are running Catalina right now, which is 10.15, and we're on dot 7. There's also been at least 2 supplemental updates in there as well. So we've gone through, I want to say, probably 9 to 10 updates to Catalina since it was originally introduced as Mac OS Catalina 10.15 about a year ago. And those updates address bugs, address security, address compatibility with software, all kinds of different things. And those updates are most of the time free of charge. And anymore in the year 2020, there's really no reason not to update any software, because a lot of the time those updates are related to security issues. We just had a supplemental update for Catalina come out last week that was related to some security holes they found. So I would say, most of the time, running updates we always encourage that. And
Sorry
if you have any questions, you can reach out. But
Yeah, I want to point out Apple, again, they spend so much time and effort doing things right, but then they do some things that are just mind-boggling. And here's an example. You can see my system preferences screen.
Yep.
Is that yeah? And you see, I have a little what do you call it, widget that says I've got one software update. So I click on my software update, and here I'm in software update, right? Update.
Upgrade. Duh.
But
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
presented with a
Right.
Mac OS Big Sur upgrade now, and this is a big difference. Now, I should have waited to update my Safari before we did this, because what happened was right down here it said there are other updates available, and I
Hmm.
clicked on that, and it presented the Safari update, and so I was able to update Safari. And we try from an automation standpoint to apply updates as aggressively as we can without annoying people. Uh, and typically, we will run updates or apply updates when we can that do not require a restart. We'll just do that because
Yep.
most people will never notice it.
Yep.
But if it requires a restart, which often Apple does when they release security updates, we have to prompt. We have to get your permission, and because you have to know that we're going to restart your machine, or Apple is going to require your machine gets restarted.
That's right.
But this other area, this upgrade area, they've really blurred the lines. And I think if I went to the App Store, I could see that as well. But here, if I hit upgrade now, in fact, if I hit upgrade now, yeah, it's going to start downloading. I'm going to pause this. I thought it might here, more info. Maybe it would open the App Store. It does. I'm not sharing that screen right now, but well, no, it actually takes me to the web page. So this is another confusing thing.
So
Sometimes
Ben, you're actually this is a good time to bring this up. So
Mhm.
right now, actually for the last couple months, we've been using a piece of software called Nudge. And if you're one of our clients, you've probably noticed a window that comes up that says "Forget computers needs you to update your system." And to Ben's point, that in that window, and unfortunately, I don't have a graphic representation to show you what it looks like, but it
I think
directs
I
you
can
to
find
open
one here.
System Preferences, and it asks you to go to that window that Ben just had open. And for most folks, it's very confusing because the biggest, brightest button now is upgrade to Big Sur, and then there's not a big button that says update. So if Ben, can you pull up your system preferences window again real quickly?
Yeah, I was just looking. I thought we had oh, here it is.
Yes, that's what it looks like. So this is what a lot of our users will see. And so these are called nudge prompts. And we were pushing these out because these do require a restart. As
Hmm.
Ben said, most of the software that we support, we can patch that and update that through our system, most third-party software. But when it comes to the operating system itself, that's where we need the users to interact and to update their machines because, yeah, like you said, it's going to require a restart, and there will be some downtime affiliated with that. So it's
Hmm.
confusing when you see that nudge, and then you go and you say, wait a second, I clicked upgrade, it won't let me, but this is a perfect, if we can leave it right there, Ben,
Yeah.
that's where the updates hide.
Hmm.
So when you open up software update, now you're going to see Big Sur OS 11 upgrade now,
Hmm.
but right below that, you'll see that more info. And if you hover over that, that'll open a new window and show you what updates are available to your machine. So those are the updates that we want you to run and get your machines updated to the latest version of Catalina or the latest version of Mojave if you're still running Mojave.
Yeah, and
And
really,
so this is
if
this is where the confusion has been generally.
if yeah, if there are any questions, reach out to us. We will always try to take care of this for you by either running automated updates that do not require a restart, or nudging you through this process to restart your Mac to get all the updates. And then the upgrades, you could see, if I went back to system preferences, and if I said upgrade now, it will start downloading. Now your team could do that, and it will download. We can't stop anyone from doing that. But if as soon as it launches, our software will say, wait a minute, this is not authorized on this computer. So we will not allow it to execute. So they won't actually be able to execute. And that's where we will start getting calls because somebody will try to upgrade to Big Sur, and we'll politely say, well, for security reasons, you can't do that unless there's a business reason to do so. And sometimes there is. Sometimes it's well, I'm running it on a test machine. I need to get it on a test machine. Okay, that's great. We'll release the block so you can run it. And certainly none of this we're not trying to control anyone's life and how they run their computer, but every organization we've worked with, at least in the past, historically has said, yes, please block this. And if anyone asks for it, let's evaluate if it's a proper use case. So
yeah, I'd say quite the contrary, Ben. We have positive intent behind this because what we're trying to do is keep folks from, accidentally going to Big Sur, and then all of a sudden half of their software doesn't work and they can't do their job. So we're trying to keep these computers running as best as possible. We're not trying to to take any of the fun of what might be fun in Big Sur away. We just want we want your computers to work, and we want your software to run. We want you to be able to be productive, and right now we just don't feel that Big Sur is ready for enterprise use. If you have a family member that wants to give it a shot at home, I think we would even still suggest to wait until 11.1 comes out at least before jumping into Big Sur. But you could certainly try it on a personal computer. And then, as Ben mentioned from the beginning, if you order one of those machines with the M1 processor, you're going to have Big Sur on there anyway to play with. So because the M1 processors only support Big Sur.
Yeah.
But updates, those nudge notifications, we are trying to get all of our computers that we support up to 10.15.7. And there is a little bit of a gotcha in here. So let's say you're running 10.15.4, 5, or 6. You go in, you click more info there that Ben has pulled up. That's going to show you, okay, there is an update available, a security update to 10.15.7, and probably that Safari update too. So please go ahead and run those. And then once you're done, please come back and check, because that supplemental update that we were talking about a little while back isn't bundled in with the .7 update. So you have to actually run it twice to get to 10.15.7 with the supplemental update. You'll have to run it once to get to .7, and then you'll have to run it again to get the supplemental update applied. And that supplemental update is very important. That's a very important security update, and that's why we are really nudging as best we can all of our clients get up to 10.15.7 as soon as possible.
And all this sounds overly complex. Like, why does anyone care? Right. Most people just use their computer and it works. And through our automation and through our nudging, we eventually get there. If there's ever a crisis situation where we have to get people to a certain level, we've done massive reach out where we open tickets or we call people or we work, with an in-house IT team to get some of this accomplished. Those are rare. For the most part, people just use their software and it works. Where we get into trouble is, when someone has full administrative privileges and they don't quite understand what they're doing, or Adobe or Microsoft or Apple prompts somebody and they just blindly apply those upgrades, typically upgrades, sometimes updates, but typically upgrades. And Adobe is also terrible at just like installing the latest version of Creative Cloud.
Yeah, they completely blur the lines, and they do use the same verbiage that Apple does, where they say an update's available when they're really kicking you up to like Photoshop 2021 from a previous version, which is an upgrade because that's an entirely different piece of software.
Yeah, and then from the Adobe standpoint, even updates can sometimes break workflows. So if you're working with a team passing Illustrator files or InDesign files or even Photoshop files back and forth between Mac users, but especially between Apple and Windows PC users, we've seen workflows like that break where you can't always pass things back and forth without things shifting because people weren't on the same version.
Yeah.
And the
And that is
upgrades,
something I should have added in as a caveat when I said it's always safe to run updates. As a general rule, it is.
yeah,
If you're working on a team or you're collaborating, like Ben just said, especially with Adobe stuff, you want to make sure you're at parity with your team members or the group you're working with, because Adobe is notorious for breaking
yeah.
their ability to have other things work with their software with an update. So
Yeah, and at least Adobe's gotten better at allowing you to retain the old version or go back a version. I mean, they are
yep,
pretty good about that. Yeah,
yeah,
Apple, on the other hand, once you go forward, it's getting more and more difficult to take a step back. So just beware of that. Once again, all these things are things you shouldn't have to worry about. But if you want to make sense of it and you want to be more aware, that's why we wanted to talk about it. And once again, stress. Don't be an early adopter unless you have a spare machine lying around that you can really experiment with. So it's we're on the half hour, so I think we're going to wrap this up.
I have one last little thing that I want to share
Yeah.
as I was kind of looking and preparing for this, that kind of a real world example of what the difference between an upgrade and an update. So if you are looking at your
Okay.
kitchen, right? So your kitchen,
Hmm.
if you're going to update your kitchen, you're probably going to refinish the cabinets. You might throw some paint on the walls. You might change your faucet out or change some lighting fixtures. That's updating your kitchen. If you're upgrading your kitchen, you're probably going to rip all of the cabinets out. You might move the fridge to the other side, move the stove, new appliances, new sink, new everything. So an update is smaller, more granular. Upgrade, big, big
Yeah.
change. And so those words aren't synonymous, and we do want all of our users to update their operating systems regularly and to follow those nudge prompts. And hopefully here sometime in 2021 we can get you all upgraded to OS 11 Big Sur.
Yeah. And one last thing is, you've heard us say this before, but we have something called No Change Fridays.
Yes.
It's just good practice, whether it's an update or an upgrade, to not try to do that on Friday unless your plan is to spend all weekend either without a working computer or fixing that computer. But ideally, don't involve us, because we don't like to be surprised over the weekend that you absolutely need help. Um, and we started No Change Fridays because we had so many clients run into this. It's like, hey, it's the end of the week. Oh, there's an update. Why don't I just apply that update? Unfortunately, so many people also work over the weekend, and so many updates historically would break their ability to work that we were getting way too many calls over the weekend. So it's like, hey, you know what? Let's avoid making any changes on a Friday. If you make it on
Yeah.
Monday morning, we got all day to help you.
Yep.
If you make it on a Thursday afternoon, we've got all Friday to sort it out. But if you do it on a even a Friday morning, some of those mistakes can take hours to fix, and nobody likes that. So once again, planning to do this stuff with intention and knowing what the repercussions are is really what it's all about, and especially when it comes to upgrades, because you just, without testing, you just don't know. I remember I bricked my phone once because I trusted Apple with, it might have even been an update, it wasn't even an upgrade, and the phone became an iPod for about 48 hours until Apple released a new update that fixed the phone features of the phone.
And
Fortunately, I don't use the phone as a phone very often.
To Ben's point, and as it relates specifically to OS 10.15 Catalina, from what we have seen updating from any .4.5, 2.7, and the supplemental, we have not seen any issues with it breaking anything. So please feel free to run those updates. Ideally not on Friday afternoon, but it shouldn't cause any issues. If we're talking about upgrading from any operating system earlier than Catalina to Catalina, let's absolutely not do that on Friday. We're working right now with some of our clients that still are running 10.13 and earlier, and and we're getting them bumped up. But specifically updates to Catalina, you shouldn't have any issues post update. So, and we'd love to see all of those updates get applied as soon as we can get those done. So, and thank you to all of our clients for getting those done and taking the initiative and to you're making me laugh to get your computers up to date.
Yes. Sorry if I distracted you, Wyatt, but this tool is so cool. We're still
really
exploring
cool, man.
it.
Yeah.
And Michelle, do we have any questions before we wrap here?
Nope, there weren't any questions.
Okay. And I don't mean rap with the beatbox, everyone. I mean wrap it up. Okay. So we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. We're doing this every other week now. We got a little sidetracked because Apple have the same time slot as us. We figured people wanted to watch Apple rather than us. But we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your week.
David, quick answer to your question. Ben's going to go over the software in detail in one of our upcoming live streams.
Yeah, we should do. I'll share in the notes the software I used because it's really 2 pieces that I used. I'll share that in the notes, and then we will go over this once we get it all working properly. Okay, thanks everyone.
Cool.
Bye.